up, everybody? Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over here, lots of exciting stuff. But first, I want to do a brief mention that I'm going to be planning on doing another live Q&A here this weekend. Probably Saturday night, might be Sunday night. I will, of course, post on social media and also as a community post on YouTube here as well of when it will actually be posted, so that will pop up in your sub feed. And of course, make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. But let me know, if you guys would be up for another live Q&A. I think the one last month was really fun, and I want to try and get into a rhythm of doing them maybe once a month. So let me know if this weekend you guys would like to see that. But getting into the news this week, first off, Chevy revealed the Corvette Convertible here, the new 2020 version, and so it's a retractable hardtop. That's the big surprise here, and looks very good. It's very similar to like the McLaren hardtop convertibles, all those types of vehicles, and just has those flying buttresses going down the sides there. And so you do lose the view of the engine bay. That is one thing you lose, but you don't lose any cargo space supposedly. And with the top down or up, you have the same amount of cargo space. You can still fit 2 golf bags in the back, they say, and it's the same as the coupe. If you don't want to take the roof off, though, you can still even lower the little back window to let in some air and sound, again, like all those other supercars that usually let you do the same thing. And so Autoblog interviewed the chief Corvette engineer, who said that while he didn't have exact numbers, it should only weigh about 80 pounds more than the coupe, because the car didn't lose any stiffness in the transition to convertible, and therefore no chassis reinforcements had to be added. So I think it has to do with that strong backbone through the transmission tunnel area that they were mentioning at the launch of the hardtop. So that might have something to do with it. But one thing that does change here is the price, of course. And it's a big jump for the convertible this time around. So it's going to be $7,500 more expensive than the coupe, starting at $67,495. And so it's a jump, but they're thinking that this could actually sell more than the coupe, which is interesting because the coupe, you can still, it's a Targa, you can still remove the roof on those, and you get the good view out of the back. So as nice as this convertible is, I feel like a lot of people, even people who want an open air experience, will still go for the removable hardtop instead. Anyway, for those who are interested in one of these, production is going to start late in the first quarter of 2020, so closer to the springtime of next year. And so anyway, cool to see that. Chevy also revealed the C8R race car version of the Corvette at the same event here, which looks awesome. I mean, it's got the wider stance and obviously the aerodynamic enhancements. The extra lights there in the front bumper look pretty cool too. And they didn't talk anything about the engine that it's running, other than it being a mid-engine V8, of course. But Autoblog noted that at the event that it revs very quickly and had a high-pitched sound. So that's all we really know about it. It's going to be something special, whatever's in there. Who knows if it will ever show up in a normal production car version. But the first race this is going to be racing at is the Rolex 24 in Daytona in January, so you'll be able to see it in action then. Audi has revealed a new vehicle this week, the refreshed RS4 Avant. And so unlike the RS6 Avant, the Audi RS4 here, they confirmed to Autoblog that it is not going to be coming to America. So this one's only for Europe. But for those of you in Europe, this refresh ditches all the chrome trim, gets the new grille design similar to the other new RS models. It's basically like a shrunken down RS6 Avant, honestly, as far as the looks go, with more high-tech headlights like the other Audis and stuff. The interior does it's a little bit on the lower end versus some of the other stuff, so it gets some updates like the other new RS models with cooler seats and stuff like that, but you still only get a single screen there instead of the double screens you get in other Audis. But that single screen is touchscreen now, so I think in the previous A4s and stuff you still had to use a controller. Now it is a touchscreen, which is a nice change in my opinion, and so would be nice to see them integrate the double screens into this, but I get that it's a lower model, so it makes sense. The engine is the same as before, running a 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 for 450 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque, and deliveries are going to be beginning in Europe before the end of this year, actually, so coming pretty quickly. One other Audi that is coming to the United States is the A6 Allroad, according to Motor Trend and Automobiles. So this isn't official yet, but their intel is suggesting that this is going to be available in the States. So they learned from some Audi executives that while it hasn't been officially announced, it is coming, and it makes sense because, obviously they had to crash test the wagon body style for the United States and certify it and all that kind of stuff. And doing that just for the RS6 Avant, they would have never made their money back. So I think the plan all along was to have the Allroad and the RS6 both come with the same body style. You can certify it the same way, and kill two birds with one stone. So I think that's kind of what they're it helps strengthen the business case for the RS6 Avant, and the Allroad should do pretty well, I think, because there's a lot of competitors these days. There's the Volvo V6 or V90 cross country, you have the E-Class wagon still, and lower on the spectrum you have the Buick Regal Tourex and stuff like that. But I think the A6 Allroad, it did fairly well in the States in the past, and so I think it could do well again here now that they're bringing it back. Not sure when this is going to be arriving, but probably sometime in the 2020 model year, of course, so shouldn't be too much longer. BMW has a new reveal this week, actually a couple technically. It's the 2020 X5M and X6M, along with the competition versions of each. So they have more aggressive styling than the regular X5 and X6, and it lines up with current other M models, but to me it doesn't look as crazy as the previous M SUVs. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. But they get the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8, and they do 600 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque in the regular versions. The competition versions get 17 more horsepower, and so 0 to 60 is 3.7 seconds for both the SUVs with the competition package. Without the competition package, it goes to 3.8, so you gain 0.1 seconds in the 0 to 60 there. But that fastest number is only 0.3 seconds faster than the already quick M50i versions of the X5 and X6. So that M50i is a solid performer still, and this is a pretty big jump up for the M version, so it'll be interesting to see how well these new M's do. They all run an 8-speed ZF automatic and M xDrive all-wheel drive, but BMW claims that it still only sends power to the front wheels when it needs more traction. Otherwise, it's rear-wheel drive. So there isn't any kind of drift mode like the M5. At least it has a rear-wheel drive, heavily rear-wheel drive bias setup, which is cool. Suspension-wise, they've been obviously beefed up to keep up with the power in typical M fashion. They have an adaptive suspension setup as standard with specially tuned springs and dampers. They also get more chassis bracing, stiffer mounting points, and more camber on the front wheels. They get massive 15.6-inch brake rotors in the front, and still huge 15-inch rotors in the rear there. Calipers are 6-piston in the front, but only single piston in the rear, which is a little surprising. But they also use brake-by-wire technology, and this debuted on the 8 Series, and now is rolling out to the X5 and X6Ms, and so that means that brake feel can actually be adjusted with drive modes as well. Not sure how I feel about that, but brake-by-wire, it wasn't the best in some of the applications I've used, like the Alfa Romeo Giulia. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't awful either. So, we'll see how that is, applied here to this. There's also an optional staggered wheel setup with 21-inch wheels in the front end. Those are running 295 wide tires in the front. And then you can get 22s out back running 315 wide tires. So, very aggressive setup there. The X5M pricing starts at $106,095, with the X6M being $3,500 more. The competition models start at $115,095. You're paying $9,000 more for 17 more horsepower. Yeah, that does not seem like a strong value. And so anyway, that's for the X5M version, and again, it's another $3,500 for the X6M competition. So pretty pricey, and considering how awesome the M50i version is already, and I love that motor. I tested it in the X7 review that I did recently. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see, but for those who are interested, these are going to be available next spring. And usually I don't talk about race cars, but I had to mention this one for the Mazda fans. So Mazda has revealed the Mazda3 TCR that's going to be racing in the 2020 IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenger Series. And it looks awesome and gives us kind of an idea of what a new Mazda Speed 3 could be like, minus the huge rear wing and probably the very aggressive front lip. But you tone it down a little bit and you leave that wide body kit on it, and I think that would look fantastic. Especially, you give it the turbo motor, tune it up a little bit. I think that would do so well. This is such a mean tease from Mazda just to show us how awesome a Mazda 3 can be. And this race car has plenty of power too. It's running a turbo 4-cylinder that does 350 horsepower. Now, obviously, that's a race motor, But even still, boost the normal 2.5 turbo motor up to 300 horsepower or something that's, in all the other Mazdas currently, and you'd be set. We do know a turbo motor at least does fit, because it fits under the hood of this thing. It also uses a 6-speed racing transmission with paddle shifters. That's, of course, a racing-only thing. I don't even care what transmission they put in it. Obviously, a manual would be best, but, it's at this point, I wouldn't be too picky. I just would love to see another sporty Mazda. And I hope they decide to do a faster Mazda 3 someday, because I'm even kind of wondering why they're even choosing to race the Mazda 3, because they already have the Miata for their racing series, and they race plenty of those, and that's their sports car is the Miata. So if Mazda's trying to be this luxury brand and forget about all the sporty stuff other than the Miata, then why are you dressing up a Mazda 3 to race it? Like, I really hope this is a sign that they're seeing the light and they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't turn our back on the Mazda 3 community and the performance guys and girls in that community. So hopefully this is a positive sign, but it's impossible to know one way or another. But at least they still have the Miata. They still build the Miata, so I cannot be upset at Mazda because they are still building an awesome sports car. So that's more than a lot of car companies can say. Other stuff here. Subaru this week teased the Japanese Levorg Prototype that they'll be showing in Tokyo later this month. And so this is the wagon version of the WRX that for some reason Subaru doesn't give us here in the States. I guess because they think we don't like wagons. But I think if they, hacked it up a little bit to give it some, more aggressive fender flares to make it look a little more off-roady and lifted it an inch like the Crosstrek, I think you would have tons of people that would be excited about this, even without a turbo motor. But you put a turbo motor in it, and I think you could actually convert some fans, especially if you give it a decent transmission and not the CVT that everyone's been complaining about with the Outback and Legacy. But anyway, so from this teaser here, the styling doesn't look as dramatic as the concept. Surprise, surprise. We saw a Levorg concept a year or two ago and looked pretty awesome. This seems a little more mild. But this does prove, though, that all those rumors about Subaru bringing near production vehicles to Tokyo is at least partially true. At least the Levorg here looks like it's going to be pretty close to production ready. And, so hopefully that means we're going to get a glimpse at a new WRX. But even if we don't see a new WRX prototype or anything there, this Levorg shares the front end with the WRX usually. So at least we'll have a pretty good look at a new WRX front end, at least, if nothing else, with this new Levorg. So positive news for WRX fans is that you're probably going to be seeing the front end here in Tokyo pretty soon, if nothing else. So that's a little bit exciting there, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that Subaru really comes out swinging with this new WRX. Other quick Subaru news, which is kind of interesting too, is that there's a news report this week here that Toyota is increasing its ownership in Subaru from 17% to 20%. And that might not seem like a huge jump, but in the finance world, that's a pretty big deal. And according to Takeshi Miyai, I probably butchered that, I apologize, but he's a managing director at the consultancy firm Carnorma, and he, I guess, was quoted here saying that, and I don't know what authority he has, but he says the plan appears to be ultimately to make Subaru a fully owned subsidiary to help create a mega Toyota. Those are his words. That's not an official Toyota thing or anything, but we do know that, of course, Toyota and Subaru are pairing up for a next-gen version of the BRZ in 86. That's been confirmed. Also, we know that Subaru and Toyota are going to be working on a electric crossover about the size of the RAV4 and the Forester that they're both going to share, and with different styling, of course, but they're going to be partnering up on an electric SUV. And so it'll be interesting to see in the 2020s how much more they blend together, how much more of Subaru Toyota buys, how much they share stuff. I really hope they don't just turn into like another sub-brand for Toyota and just turn into like Lexus for, all-wheel drive enthusiasts or something. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But we know Subaru's been chasing volume. That's all they want to do is be a huge volume manufacturer. That's why, all the niche stuff they've kind of put on the back burner, and doesn't seem to be the priority anymore. So we'll have to see, what turns up here. But like I said, hopefully Subaru still comes through and remains awesome with a cool new WRX and STI and an awesome new BRZ as well. Other electric news, though, since I was mentioning that here with those SUVs, is that Mini is considering making the next-gen Cooper smaller and electric only, according to Auto Express magazine. So they talked with Mini's CEO, who says he wants the new one to be smaller, closer to the size of the original Mini from 20 years ago. So those R53 generations. And I love the R53s, and I'm hoping to review one relatively soon, because I never did get to review one of those. But that supercharged motor and stuff, they were awesome. But anyway, he wants it to be closer to that size. Makes sense if it's going to be a city car and a smaller vehicle. And so if they do make this new one smaller, though, then they could use an electric powertrain so that they don't lose any practicality or spaciousness. So if you have that electric powertrain, then you can push the dimensions of the interior closer to the exterior there and, get the same amount of space even in a smaller package. And so Auto Express thinks that it's possible that the current Mini could be sold alongside this brand new electric one for a couple of years, just to get people adjusted, for people who aren't ready for an electric Mini. They could still have the old previous gen version for a couple of years. And I think this will also depend on how the Cooper SE does, because the Cooper SE they just revealed a couple of weeks back as an all-electric Cooper. On the current generation platform, it's just basically using the BMW i3 powertrain. And so I think it depends on how well that does it. Maybe if that bombs, then maybe they won't go for a full EV Mini, because it doesn't sound like they have anything locked down, because Mini CEO here was saying, we have to see in the next few months what engineering and design can come up with as a solution. That's what they told Auto Express. So they're not fully committed to EV yet, so we'll have to see. I'm sure they're going to be keeping an eye on how the Cooper SE does in the next couple of months. But either way, their goal is for the new car, whether it's gas or electric, to arrive by the end of 2022. So anyway, interesting to see that. The last story this week, also about an electric car company, Tesla. So they revealed this big software update this week, version 10.0, and it has a lot of interesting stuff. But the main feature is Smart Summon, which is something that's been teased for several years now, and now it's actually finally available. And it's available on cars with the full self-driving option, and it allows the car to come to you in a parking lot. So if it's parked somewhere, you just pull out your phone and summon it with a Smart Summon, and it will drive itself to you within reason. And so Tesla says the owner is still responsible for what the car does, that anyone who's using this feature, it should only be used whenever you have a clear view of the car. So you can actually watch it and see what's going on. You can stop it with your phone if it looks like it's going to hit something. And it's good that they mentioned that, because since this reveal or this update came out this week, there have already been several incidences of Teslas now running into other cars in parking lots or just navigating poorly. And it shows that Elon Musk is a dreamer, but this stuff is still not ready for prime time. And obviously this is the first version of it, and they will make improvements, and I'm sure it will get better eventually. But, it just seems like he's trying to rush this stuff before it seems to be fully ready. And it's gotten so bad just in this first week of this stuff being available that the NHTSA is already investigating this and whether this should even be allowed. Because if you have these Teslas and people, just randomly being like, oh, look, my car can drive up to me, and then they start ramming into every other car in the parking lot, it's not going to go very well. And so we'll have to see. Other less problematic features here in version 10.0 that are actually pretty cool is that Spotify is now supported in the infotainment and integrated in. You can also now stream Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube on the main screen when the car is in park, thankfully. Only when the car is in park. But that means you could technically watch this channel and this video in your Tesla now if you want, which is pretty cool. For more in-car fun, there's even a new karaoke, they call it, mode, and that provides music and lyrics to sing along to. Also, the game Cuphead has been added to the Tesla arcade, and you can play that while parked as well. And so, I still really commend Tesla for making things fun, and I do appreciate the fun factor that Tesla has in the out-of-the-box kind of thinking for a lot of these things. But when it comes to stuff like your car driving around autonomously, I think we still need to be a little more careful with all that kind of stuff. But anyway, interesting to see all that, and we'll see how that Smart Summon develops here over the next few weeks in that whole story. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.